Welcome to the deep dive. We're here to cut through the noise and help you get truly well-informed. And today, let's start by acknowledging something, well, pretty incredible. Science. It's constantly pushing boundaries, right?
Absolutely. Medical breakthroughs, tech wonders, they really redefine our lives. Science is fundamental.
It really is. But, what if behind those amazing headlines, there's something else going on? Something quieter. What if the whole system, the very engine of science, isn't working as well as we think? Not because of, villains, but the design itself.
That's a huge question, and it's exactly what we want to dig into today. We're drawing from a really sharp critical analysis. It's titled Excerpts from Fixing Broken Science, Systemic Flaws and Needed Reforms.
Okay. And our mission for you listening is to get you past the surface noise, to give you a clearer, maybe more nuanced view on why science can sometimes feel, sluggish.
Or inefficient. Yeah, what are the real deep issues?
Exactly. We want to provide that shortcut to being genuinely informed on this. It's pretty important stuff.
Definitely. And maybe the best place to start is clearing up some common ideas people have.
Okay.
Like when you mention problems in science, people often jump straight to misconduct, fraud.
Right, like faking data or making up survey results. Those stories grab headlines.
They do, and they're serious, no question. Or you hear about these organized scams.
You mean things like paper mills?
Yeah, exactly. These outfits that just churn out fake research, sell authorship spots, citations.
Wow.
Sometimes completely fake papers. And now, with AI tools popping up, apparently these scams are spreading even faster globally.
Okay, that sounds pretty bad. Definitely concerning.
It does sound alarming. But here's where the source makes a really crucial point.
Oh.
While all that stuff, the fraud, the scams, is serious and needs tackling, it's not the main problem.
Wait, hang on. You're saying fake data, these global paper mill scams, they aren't the core issue?
According to this analysis, no. They're symptoms, maybe, but not the root cause, not the biggest concern.
Okay, that's surprising. So if that's not the main thing, what is? What's the real crisis this source is pointing to?
It's something much more fundamental, woven into the fabric of science itself. The real crisis identified here is the broken incentive structure.
Ah, incentives. Okay. So the way scientists are rewarded, basically.
Exactly. The source argues the system often rewards things like just publishing a lot, getting citations, doing what it calls safe research.
Instead of rewarding what's actually useful. Or maybe riskier research that could lead to big breakthroughs.
Precisely. It pushes scientists into a kind of quantity over quality game. It becomes about survival.
So it's less about bad intentions and more about just trying to keep your job, get funding.
That seems to be a huge part of it. You end up focusing on producing papers that, well, look good on paper, literally, rather than tackling the really hard, messy, important problems.
So career survival means chasing trends, going for the guaranteed funding.
Even if that means avoiding the bold ideas, the ones that might fail but could be transformative.
Yeah.
That's the worry.
Okay, so what's the actual impact then? What do we lose when science gets caught in that kind of loop?
Well, the source uses a pretty vivid term, scientific bubbles.
Bubbles.
Yeah, like entire fields or subfields getting stuck on projects that might not be that relevant or are maybe even dead ends. They become self-perpetuating, Lots of activity, lots of papers, but not much real progress. It leads to wasted resources, time, money, brain power.
And it's not necessarily malice. It's the system subtly guiding behavior.
That's the argument. It pushes people, often unintentionally, towards these outcomes.
So why does this broken system stick around? If it's causing these problems, what keeps it going? What are the pressures?
Well, you touched on it. Economic pressure is huge.
Right.
Producing papers, even if they're low impact or just incremental, is still how you often get jobs, grants, promotions. The whole publish or perish thing is very real. And then there's this cultural aspect, normalisation, meaning many scientists might not even see it as a problem. It's just how science works, a necessary evil you just have to navigate.
Wow. So it's baked into the culture, not just the rules. That's a tough nut to crack.
It is. And there's also, tied into that, a strong element of risk aversion in funding.
How so?
Proposals that seem too risky, that aren't almost guaranteed to produce some kind of result, often struggle to get funded.
So the really innovative, high-risk, high-reward ideas might just wither on the vine.
They often don't even get proposed in the first place, or they get watered down. And another troubling aspect the source mentions is the reliance on Exploiting PhD students and postdocs,
Exploiting how?
using them as essentially cheap, highly skilled labor to maintain this high volume of paper output. It creates a very tough environment for early career researchers.
That paints a really stark picture. If scientists are sort of nudged into these patterns, yeah, it makes you wonder what we're missing out on. Can you give some, like, concrete examples? Where does this actually play out in different fields?
Sure. The source points to a few areas. In physics, for example, it mentions an overemphasis sometimes on what it calls mathematical fiction.
Mathematical fiction.
Highly theoretical models may be mathematically elegant, but almost impossible to actually test against reality. They kind of exist in their own world, disconnected from experiments.
Okay. What about other fields?
In psychology and sociology, the source notes how known statistical problems, things like packing or only publishing positive results, were ignored for a long time.
Right, the replication crisis stuff.
Exactly. It took a lot of public pressure, eventually, to force reforms there, even though the issues were known internally for decades.
And biomedicine. That seems crucial.
Yeah, in biomedicine, it highlights the persistent use of, frankly, unreliable tools. Things like cell lines known to be contaminated or misidentified.
Oh, I've heard about that. HeLa cells being everywhere they shouldn't be?
That kind of thing, yes. Or using antibodies that don't work properly, or mouse models that just aren't good analogs for human disease.
But why use them if they're unreliable?
Because they're often cheaper, or they're the established standard. Even if better, more accurate methods exist, it's easier, faster, fits the incentive structure again.
Wow. Like these examples really make it concrete. So boiling it down, what does this all mean for the big picture? What are the real world consequences?
Well, the biggest ones are probably significantly slowed progress overall and a declining return on investment. We pour huge amounts of money into science globally,
Right.
but if a lot of it is generating noise or going down dead ends, we're not getting what we should for that investment.
And it fosters a culture where maybe cutting corners feels necessary.
It can, yeah, to stay competitive. And critically, it puts public trust on the line.
How so?
Because if much of the research isn't robust or it's irrelevant or wasteful, eventually people start to question the whole enterprise. That's dangerous.
Hugely. So, okay, the picture is pretty grim. Science is broken, according to the source. How do we fix it? What are the practical steps proposed?
Well, it argues for introducing real consequences when fields consistently fail to produce useful results. Basically, accountability.
Accountability that maybe isn't there right now.
That's the implication. And fundamentally, it calls for shifting incentives, rewarding genuine usefulness, rewarding researchers who take smart risks.
Instead of just rewarding paper counts or playing it safe.
Exactly. And that requires systemic changes, rethinking how funding works, maybe prioritizing high impact, even if riskier projects, changing how we evaluate research for grants and tenure, even changing hiring practices. It's about reorienting the whole system.
It sounds like a massive overhaul.
It likely would be.
The conclusion from our source is really quite blunt, isn't it? Science is broken and pretending otherwise doesn't help.
It is blunt.
And it hammers home that fixing it means acknowledging systemic flaws, not denying them.
Absolutely. It circles back to that core idea. It's not just about a few bad apples. It's the barrel itself, the system of incentives that needs fixing.
Until those underlying structures change.
That will likely keep seeing these same problems crop up.
Wow. Okay. This deep dive really, it gives us a lot to chew on. It makes you think, if the incentives really were different, if they truly rewarded usefulness, maybe taking bigger swings, what kind of breakthroughs might we see more often?
It's a fascinating thought experiment, isn't it?
Yeah. And how does knowing about these systemic issues change how you, listening, might look at scientific news or claims from now on?
Does it make you more critical, more nuanced in your interpretation?
It raises that bigger question, I think. What would society gain from a scientific enterprise that was truly effective, not just, productive on paper? Something to really consider.